Joining us in
Julie Gillard there speaking to RN's Fran Kelly. Well, to discuss the Asian Century White Paper further, we're joined in Sydney by Professor Tim Harcourt, the self-styled airport economist and economics fellow at the Australian School of Business. And with him in Sydney is Dr. Adam Lockyer. He's a specialist in US politics and foreign policy at the University of Sydney. Gentlemen, good morning to you both.
Good morning.
G'day.
Firstly, if I could ask you firstly, Tim, to pick up on the Prime Minister's concession of this relative lack of engagement over the decades. Have what you've seen in this white paper, will that be enough to bridge that gap?
I think the Prime Minister made a very good point in an interview with Fran Kelly, and that's that we grew up with this view that the tyranny of distance meant we were too far from Asia and Asia was very poor. Now we've seen the power of proximity replace the tyranny of distance. Asia is actually where the opportunities are, and Australia is the right place at the right time, and we've got the right things to sell. So it's been quite a sea change, as the Prime Minister outlined.
Adam Lockyer, your view?
So I'm a convert to the white paper. So when I heard that this was in the pipeline, I thought there was only going to be one of two things. First off, it was going to be there to boost Gillard Government's foreign policy credentials, particularly on the back of Kevin Rudd, who had a deep knowledge of foreign policy, and particular Asia. Second of all, I thought that was there just to wedge the Liberal Party. So the Liberal Party looks north towards Asia, and all they see are boats and challenges and threats, whereas the Labor Party sees opportunity and Australia's future prosperity. And I think that both those two things are still true. However, after reading the white paper, I think that it's asking the right questions in the right way, and it's going to make the right people think along the right lines.
Tim Harcourt, is somebody who is deeply knowledgeable about the region, just how much of an economic potential is there in that burgeoning middle class across Asia?
Well, there's no doubt about that. We've been great earners with Asia, with rocks and crops, with mining and farming, which are good things because we've got to feed and provide energy to Asia. But as the white paper says, in the professional services areas where we're going to be becoming learners as much as earners in Asia, with the demand for education, as the Prime Minister mentioned, in Korea, with a lot of professional services. As I travel around the second and third tier cities in China, I meet Australian architects, Australian education providers, construction surveyors, people basically building the great projects of Asia to ensure that more people get out of poverty and join the middle class.
And Tim, just sticking with you for a moment more, this focus on education, how important is that? And do you believe this very strong goal of having Australia's school system in the world's top 5 by 2025 is achievable?
Well, I think education and business education is an important part of the story in the white paper. I actually teach at the University of New South Wales, and I teach in Asia. I teach in China and India. I'm taking some MBA students to China next month and similarly to India. I think basically to have so many people Asian business literate on boards, as mentioned in the white paper, a lot of it will happen with business education and as well as schools. And I actually think that language matters, it's helpful, but actually understanding the economic institutions of Asia and being Asian business literature will be a very important part of how successful Australia will be.
Adam Lockyer, let's go to your patch, and that, I suppose, is the strategic architecture of the region. There's a lot of concern expressed by a lot of observers this morning about the United States being pretty much an afterthought in this white paper. What's your reading of what the white paper says about the strategic interests of Australia engaging with Asia?
Oh, well, the United States was an afterthought. So the white paper was delayed 2 weeks. It was originally supposed to be released 2 weeks ago. What happened was it went to Gillard Government's department, and they decided, one, it was too long, so it must have been a real whale because it's still at 317 pages, and second of all, that there wasn't enough United States in there. So they called in the director of O&A, Alan Jindal, and he added the United States to the document, and it has been added as an afterthought. So I think that very few in the United States are going to read this document, but the few that do are probably going to be surprised at best and concerned at worst by the lack of the role of the United States in Australia's future, according to this document.
And just quickly, Adam Lockyer, the paper also says that China needs to be a bit more open about its military build-up. It cited that as one of the key risks in the Asian century. Do you believe there is cause for concern there?
So I think that overall this is a very positive document, a very optimistic document in regards to China. I think that this is because it's mostly coming out of Treasury. There's another white paper in the pipeline coming out of Defence, and that one's going to be talking more about the Asia-Pacific century rather than just the Asian century, and that will be far more concerned with looking at matters of strategy and defence.
Tim Harcourt, coming back to you, you touched on that goal of having a third of company directors in our top 200 companies Asia literate or having a deep knowledge of Asia, and it's something else that Fran Kelly picked up with the Prime Minister. How realistically achievable is that?
I think this is happening already. I've been to 56 countries in the last 5 years, and in each place I go, particularly in Asia, more and more boards of Linfox and Orica are actually having their operational board meetings in Asia, as well as having very strong representation on the ground. ANZ made a very strong submission to the Asian century about where its future lies. So I think the signs are actually good. We've been engaging with Asia since Black Jack McEwen signed that economic deal with Japan just 12 years after World War II. And I think as we go through different phases, the Gough going to China, Hawke and Keating opening up to the region, and now Julia Gillard's contribution, I expect that business will work in tandem with government and with education institutions and the community. And there's a lot of enthusiasm. All the courses that I teach on doing business in Asia are completely oversubscribed. So I think don't underestimate the Australian community's enthusiasm for this future. I don't think they need to be lectured about becoming more Asia engaged. I think they're very keen.
And just a very quick final answer from both of you. I'll keep with you first, Tim Harcourt. How do you believe our neighbours in Asia will react to this white paper?
Well, I've been getting media calls from all the Asian media outlets, and indeed from Latin America and Africa and other emerging markets. I think Australia's take on Asia is very, very important to other emerging economies.
And Adam Lockyer?
I think that they're going to react very positively to this. I think that Australia's relationship with Asia has been a bit stressed, particularly with the stationing of US Marines in Darwin and potentially stationing of UAVs on Cocos Islands. These are throwing out some concerns from the region, whereas this document will go a long way towards allaying those fears.
Adam Lockyer and Tim Harcourt, thank you both for your terrific insights this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now let's go to Vanessa with the weather update.